Hey, figured to record this quick video. Uh, don't mind the background. It's Sunday, so it's somewhat of a chore day. But yeah, I did want to talk about the reason why your outbound is really not. Couch. The reason why your outbound is not doing as much as you'd like is purely, or getting the results that you want, is purely of the fact of your offer, right? Like, this is one take, by the way, but your offer is so significantly important. And what I mean by offer is what you are giving to the marketplace and what problem are you solving. Now, there are different levels of awareness in which your market understands a certain problem. So in certain aspects, they might be completely unaware of a problem that you're trying to solve, or they could be really aware of a problem you're trying to solve, and that's why you have like tons of competitors, and it's really hard to differentiate yourself. And if you don't understand why you are in a certain period, it becomes really, really difficult to actually navigate converting strangers into new customers. And so, I have a couple of clients right now who, we go through the onboarding system, right? Where it's like we give them an onboarding form, hey, collect all this sort of information, we have an onboarding call. And we ran the first week of campaign and we were getting like no results. And actually one of the replies that we got was someone being like, yeah, like I've already priced you guys out, like blah, blah, blah. And I went back to the team there and I was like, how are you different from your competitors? Right? It's like, oh, it's a really saturated space, blah, blah, blah. Like, there really isn't much differentiation. And I'm like, internally, I'm like, oh, great. Like, I got to pull some shit out of my ass, right? But it's really important when you are a founder or a CRO or a head of sales or just someone, head of marketing, whoever, like, if you're in charge of converting strangers into customers, you have to find your competitive advantage and use it, because it's really hard, especially in saturated markets, to be able to leverage a commoditized offer if you don't, one, have the volume of a big total addressable market, but two, also, it's really hard to actually kind of move the needle forward. Corporate speak, sorry. Still trying to shut that away. But it's really hard to actually move forward and like get more people willing to meet. And so what we're doing for them is primarily just cold email, just mass cold email. I think they're doing like 25K emails per month, right? Which is honestly, in the grand scheme of it, really not that much. We personally send for our own business right now, we're probably going to reach roughly like 15K per day. So I don't know what the math is, but roughly like 500,000 emails a month, right? And if we have a large total addressable market. And so what I was trying to tell them was that, listen, you have to understand, not from just like hey, like we obviously want to deliver results perspective, but it's like as a business owner, you got to understand your competitive advantage. And they're 500K right now annually. They're pre-seed, they're backed by major companies. So obviously there is some sort of market validation there through investors. However, they're still trying to find product market fit. And so for the companies that are pre-product market fit, which we typically don't try to bring on, these guys might be one of the few that we actually kind of going to stop bringing on. But, for the people who are struggling to convert to cold traffic, understand it's your offer, but you have to also understand, like, when you're crafting your offer, the competitive advantage that you're going through. And so, the biggest fallacy I see in people, like when we were first signing them on, they hit me with a bunch of objections of like, hey, like, we tried cold email before, it didn't work, we got a tiny bit of success for LinkedIn, it's probably just referrals, and like, it's warm traffic they're getting most of their stuff in. And when I mean by warm traffic is people, there's already pre-built trust before the sales process. And so if you're going to build a scalable business, and we see this amongst our clients of like, literally we have a client that's, about to sign on, that would be 100 million, but they're on the partner channel side. But we clients from ranging from 500K, right? They're actually, I think, one of our smallest clients now, to roughly 100 million. And so, the varying ranges in between, we typically the mean tends to be more so on like the 5 to 20, 30 range, 5 to 30 million. And so what we find is that, the channel itself is not necessarily the problem for most regards. Right? If you want to look at it from a CAC or customer acquisition cost perspective, it could be, right? Because, let's say if you're a PLG SaaS and you have a low total addressable market, it's really difficult to make, something like kind of like a sniper approach of cold email, to kind of work, right? But if you're, and, paid ads might be a better funnel because, it's be a lot more targeted, but, depending on obviously your deal size, if you're PLG, but it's a whole lot of things. And especially go through partners, but like, let's just say, for example, like, you like I've had people that were hitting us with a bunch of objections, like, yeah, like we tried a coding emergency before, it didn't work, and I'm just like, you guys have an ACV, your ACV, average order value or average cost value or whatever, like the cost of goods sold for them per purchase per customer is like roughly houses are like 75-100, right? 75K to 100K. And so like, dude, like if you're spending like, let's just say like your LTV to CAC is significantly better because we're on a pay per meeting model for them, right? Our base package just starts at like 2K, and we're honestly gonna bump that up, just because we're attracting buyers that we don't really want to get, to be quite frank with you. But 2K, and then let's just say like I think they're on a 450 per call. Again, we're gonna bump that up, but like, yeah, like they were really hesitant towards the actual model itself, and so the model itself, like the actual channel cold email, is not necessarily the problem because all it's doing is just communicating a message one-to-one. And so the biggest fallacy I see is that it's almost a lack of accountability on the founder to be like, this channel doesn't work for my business, is usually a cope that I see for companies that are below like 3 to 4 million. And it's just a fact, right? Because fundamentally, paid ads is the same thing, right? Partners are the same thing. They're just different mediums of communication. Now, partners, depending on how, I don't recommend anyone before 5 mil to kind of even explore partners, to be quite frank, unless you're a PLG SaaS that can scale through affiliates and you've got really good market validation through like maybe big enterprise that have got it, or you're investor backed or whatnot. For the pure reason of like, no partner wants to recommend someone who's pre-partner market fit, unless they're like it's affiliate, low touch, low ticket size kind of offer. It's so imperative as a founder or CEO or whatnot, even if you're head of marketing and you don't necessarily control the product itself, is, understand where your competitive strengths are. Sometimes like if you're someone who's not the head of product or someone who can't really control those decision makers or control those decisions, like find what your competitive advantage is and craft your offer based on the market sophistication of what level of depth do I have to communicate to the end customer to differentiate myself from the 20th other person who also emailed them, right? Let's just say, for example, like we're a pay per meeting lead gen model, right? There's not many of us out there. There are some people, but there's not many of us out there. We also do partnerships as well, right? There's very few partnership consulting firms who are out there right now. We're about to add a recruitment arm as well. There's very, very few of those people as well. And, that market has served, like I was able to get a meeting with like a $2 billion company, or no, it was like a $14 billion company or something, right? And that was through cold email, right? Could you imagine, like, people say cold email doesn't work in enterprise? Yes, it is kind of sticky sometimes with those decision makers, depending on your market offer and sophistication. And obviously, like email security gateways and whatnot, the technical stuff. But if you get past the technical stuff and you realistically have a good offer, people will buy and talk to you. Like, that's just the fundamental truth. And so I find it mind-boggling that founders under 5 million who tend to kind of like really almost blame the channel itself, or I want to say founder, like the teams, realistically, like it's not just the founder, typically under 5 million really blame the channel itself. Where like, listen, I don't sell paid ads, right? Like I'm not an expert in meta ads, right? But I've developed skill sets in terms of building an offer. And so what you'll find is that if you're struggling to get cold email to work or get paid ads to work, or to get these partners to refer you, partners have a little bit more nuance, right? There's a lot more hand holding and work you have to do in the back end to kind of help support and enable and activate them, which is why it's more of like a 5 to 10 million plus kind of endeavor, where it really hits stride roughly 50 million, because you need other supports of AEs and whatnot. But for direct response, right, with paid ads and cold email, like it's a skill issue. It really is. Like, I really don't know how else to say it. It typically is a skill issue. Now, where the arbitrage comes for like services like ours, where people get interested in speaking with us is because they don't want to develop that skill. They don't have time to develop that skill, and that's perfectly fine. Like as a business owner, like I would let's say for like LinkedIn content, for example, like I'm posting on LinkedIn. I know it's really not the best quality. I know it could definitely be better, and it's definitely a skill I have not fully developed. If someone were to come to me like, hey, like I can help you with your LinkedIn and I had the cash flow for it, absolutely I would do that. Because I know that's not my zone of genius and that's not a skill set I have or realistically have. Is this something I'd like to learn? Absolutely. Is it on my priority list? No. And that's what you have to evaluate when you're evaluating different vendors and evaluating different channels. Like if I do not have a proficient skill set, is this proficient skill set going to inhibit me or stop me from getting my end goal, which is at the end of the day, more customers? And so for me right now, most of our business comes actually straight through cold email and referrals. Now, I want to develop content. Again, I think for me right now, as I'm at my position in my agency, I'm going to probably hit more content roughly when I get closer to like 100K per month, roughly like, let's say like 1 to 2 mil. And that's because I want to start developing a personal brand and, get more other avenues out there. Because, fundamentally I sell partnerships, but right now partnerships for me is, not a viable model because we're still testing out our market. We're still testing out product market fit. And that's exactly what I preach. I would be a hypocrite if I said so otherwise. I have expertise because I sold through partners at a $24 billion company, right? Like I have expertise there. And so a bit of a yap and rant, but I thought it was so fundamentally important. Like don't blame the channel itself. Sometimes you have to blame yourself for their skill. It might just be a skill issue and that's fine. That's fine. In fact, it should empower you because then it's either do I figure it out on my own or do I hire someone else to figure out that skill or who has that skill and can leapfrog me to make sure I get that end result, which is why like I invest in courses, mentorships. Like they have skills and like experience that I want to leapfrog so I don't have to go through it, right? It's just how the arbitrage and how the value market works. Like that's the same thing people will buy your solutions because they could probably try to build this internally. Why would they want to, right? So just food for thought, Sunday. This probably won't get posted actually till like tomorrow, Monday. So yeah, have a great week, everyone.